You do not have to carry this around. This is not yours. This is hers. And there's help. It makes me tear up when I see these women and they finally get it. So please, please, even if you just go and read the articles and you can say, that's me, just shoot me a quick thing to let me know what your mum was like, and you'll get me if you do send me a message, and just to feel that there's support. And let's talk about it.
Welcome to yourbrilliance.com. I'm your host, Amy Waterman. It's time to talk about mom. Now, many of you watching this have incredible mothers. You have always felt loved, and you look up to her so much. And you know that no matter what, your mother is going to be there for you. But today's show is not for you. Today, we're talking to those of you who have a difficult relationship with your mother. So no matter what you've achieved, no matter what you've accomplished, your mother will stick a pin in it. She's going to make sure that you don't dare to feel good about yourself. Because if you feel good about yourself, then you pull attention away from the real star of the show, which is, of course, her. It can really mess up your life when you are always hustling for your mother's love and affection. And that is why I wanted to get some help from today's guest, Rebecca Chapman. Now, those of you who follow my show have met Rebecca before. She has spoken to us about how childhood emotional neglect affects men. Childhood emotional neglect is Rebecca's specialty at A Life in Perfect Balance, where she helps people become the very best version of themselves. And she knows how to do this because she has done it herself, which makes her the perfect person to help us understand how we can heal the pain of feeling unloved. Welcome back, Rebecca.
Hi, everyone. So happy to be back, Amy.
So we talked about this last year. We talked about doing another show, and I'm so glad we're doing it because I've covered this topic on the show before. I talked to Rashka Hasseldine about difficult mother-daughter relationships, and I have gotten so many comments on that interview, and the comments are just heartbreaking. There is so much pain when we don't get along with mom. So is that something that you have seen too?
I see it in most of my clients. Most of my clients who feel an emptiness. They're struggling in their relationships, even when they're struggling in their jobs. It can affect your relationship with your boss, especially if your boss is a female. So they'll be constantly sort of grinding for the boss's love, and also with their own children. So I get a lot of women who have either got children or thinking of having children who are so frightened to, because they'll be like their mum. So I see it a lot, but I've posted a few posts lately to just kind of gauge it. And the response, like with you, it's heartbreaking. It's really heartbreaking, the number of people that are just carrying it around, because it's kind of taboo to say something about your mum. If you want to drop it into a conversation and see what happens, it's really not cool. It'll stop the conversation dead.
You know, I have been in women's groups with women who were in their 80s. And when they talk about how they feel about their mom who's long passed, you can see these 80-year-old women still feel small and hurt. And for them, I suppose, the taboo is even stronger because there is this belief that it is the responsibility of the child to respect the parent, and especially the daughter's job is to support the mother. And if there's any problems in that relationship, the assumption is almost always made that it is the daughter's fault because she's being difficult. What do you think is behind this fear of saying anything critical about our mothers?
There's the biological fear that you are partly her. So coming to terms with that is huge, that you might carry some genetic material. Also, that as a child, you rely on your parents to survive. Your survival is totally reliant on your parents. So it is just absolutely overwhelming to think that that might not be stable or okay. It blows your mind. So later on, you carry this fear through to adulthood, where if you think something bad about your mother, that it's going to blow your world apart. Now, at that point, it's unreasonable. It's not true. But it's that if I say something, my world as I know it is going to collapse. And that includes food, shelter, any sort of affection, even a tiny little bit. You're going to lose your siblings. It's as a child, you just can't even let yourself entertain the thought. So as an adult, you don't let yourself entertain the thought. You also believe that you're sure something horrible is going to happen. So your mind as a child goes to the worst, which is either your parents going to leave or your parents going to die. Adults carry this through. It's put in there while your brain's myelinating, while it's setting up all the pathways. So you carry it through to adulthood. And I find that adults are scared that something's going to happen if they say it, but they don't know what. And it's generally that. And also that they will be they'll feel incredibly guilty because the family secrets, it's like Fight Club. What's in Fight Club stays in Fight Club. They have to be kept at any cost. In my case, my mother would get sick or threaten that something that I did would be bad enough to make her die, and she does go there. So that's a big thing for someone to carry even into adulthood.
All right. So for those of you watching, I'm going to put a statement out there, and I want you to see how it feels when I say it. I don't feel loved by my mother. How does it feel to listen to me say that? So, we often think, don't we, that we think, well, of course, all mothers love their children. That can't be the case. Just must be my imagination. So, Rebecca, do you find that your clients really struggle with that?
Yes, I don't think I hear many of them say that out loud, not for a long time, because it's meant to be something that's innate. And it is. Look, I'm a mum. I've got 5 kids, and it's not something I chose to love them. I just do. So it's really hard to get your head around how somebody's missing this incredible element. But I've seen it so often that I 100% believe it. I also have been lucky enough to have a mother that I chose, which is the best way to put it, in my life. And the difference was quite marked. So I got to see it very clearly. But I was also taught, and perhaps you were too, that love was defined differently in my family than perhaps it should have been. So love was behaving, love was, doing what your mother wanted, love was, publicly showing affection, that was love. But of course it's not.
Yeah.
That's control.
Yeah.
That's control.
Yes. Sometimes I think that in my family, love is defined as duty. So if we quote unquote love each other, well, there's food on the table, there's a roof over your head, you get an education. Obviously, we love you, but you get those things at a cost, and you get those things at the cost of you have to buy into the family belief system. You have to buy into this role that you've been assigned, and if you don't play the role anymore, or if you want emotional connection, then that's not okay. And you can your family can still believe it's a loving family and kick you out if you don't buy into the belief system, because it's the loyalty to the family system. It's not the loyalty or the love for the people in it.
No, or for their personalities.
Yeah.
Or look, and I don't know, I've got 5 children, as I said, if you take into account their personalities, it's tough mothering them because you mother to the child. Whereas narcissistic mothers, I'm not sure if they've been given some software download when, they came down here or whatever, but they have this idea of what mothering is, which is food, shelter. And even sometimes it's not even that, it's just, I'm still here. I haven't kicked you out.
Yeah.
Um,
So tell us about narcissistic mothers then, because I think that is the piece of the puzzle we're missing.
It is. And what I would say is that I will preface it saying that narcissistic is bandied around a lot at the moment. I have some resources on my website to decide. Your mother can have some narcissistic traits without being a full-blown narcissist. That doesn't make it any better for you, but there's degrees. So it's usually a mother who has severely overparented or severely underparented because she wants to remain the center of the universe. Generally, they will have picked up a spouse who is very compliant, very scared, maybe had a very strong female personality themselves. So maybe we can talk about the father another time, because that's also an enabler in this. But there's really 4 or 5 main groups of narcissistic mothers, and I'll just go through them really quickly. There is the addict. Let's start with the worst. It's not really the worst, but the most obvious, the most easy to see. Other people will generally see it. The child grows up knowing that whatever the addiction is more important than them. And the mother does nothing to correct this. I have quite a few clients who've had to go and pick their mother up from the pub or from the neighbours completely drunk, bring them home, have to look after siblings, that kind of thing. So that one's kind of obvious. Another one is the loud extroverted mother who has to be the centre of attention. They are, I don't know, I cringed. In fact, my mother's side of the family, all the women are like it, so you can imagine a party. But they need to be seen by everyone. They need to be loved by everyone. So you have to either not take any attention away from them. So they might feel very threatened if you are attractive, if you're intelligent, if you have anything to say, you'll be very much pushed down. The next one is an emotional parasite. You are there to fulfill her needs. You are there to be her confidant. You are there to tell her how wonderful she is. You are there to enable any behavior that she has that is perhaps not attractive. She might be totally inappropriate and discuss her relationship with your father, her relationship with other men that she might see, her relationships with her friends. And this makes a daughter feel very important. So you will not have any idea that this really shouldn't be happening. The next one is the mother who needs you to succeed. You are what you do. You will be pulled out at dinners at their house to play the piano, or your marks will be talked about, or you will be talked about in relation to what you have done. This mother will not know your favourite colour. This mother will not know the names of your friends unless they also are in high places. This mother will not care, but she will know every single mark that you have gotten since you're a child that makes it look like she has been fantastic. So this one parades you out, which is a joy. And can I just say here that your mother might be a mixture of these, so you don't have to pick one. The last one is the mean mother. And this mother will be mean behind closed doors or belittling in a sarcastic way. Now, I know in Australia we have a lot more sarcasm than you do in America, so you'll get little jabs here that are quite nasty. This mother will be, any other mother would have kicked you out by now. You're really lucky that I look after you. I didn't even want children. Stuff that 2 or 3 or 4-year-old is just horrendous. So that's basically the 5 types of mothers. As I said, they will swap. I would like to say too that what confuses a lot of women is that they can say, my mum was really nice up to a certain age. She was fine. And something suddenly happened. So I'm not sure if she's a narcissist because she wasn't always like this. I just want to explain this. While your mother has control, she will be happy as a pig in mud. As soon as you hit puberty and she senses that she's losing control, you might spend more time with your friends. She'll start being worried about what might be being said behind her back. That's when the narcissism will kick in. So this doesn't have to have been since you were a child. I just want to say that because it comes up quite a bit. The more control they lose, the more they act out.
Okay, so I'm going to suggest something. So somebody watching is like, oh, that's my mother. You've explained it. This is great. I'm just going to go to my mom now and tell her that I've learned this really interesting thing. And then mom will understand me and we'll finally get along. Does that work, Rebecca?
Oh, please don't. Please don't. Or we'll have to tack a couple of extra therapy sessions. No, please don't. And I also don't suggest you go to your siblings straight away. They're as involved as you and they have their own. Quite often the parent will triangulate, so we'll play you off against each other. So please don't do that because you'll feel very alone and you'll feel like you're crazy. You will. That's their whole thing, is to make you feel crazy. Generally the first person to leave will be the person who's had most of the family garbage put onto them. The other children might not be as aware. So, no, don't. Please don't. You need to get some therapy. And I wish you didn't have to, because I tried not to desperately for 40 years. Don't do any of this without some support. Chances are you've never felt that you've had a safe place to fall, and you've never felt that someone had your back, because you've come from that sort of a family, and you feel like you should be able to do this by yourself, because you also will be fiercely independent. That's another sign of having had a narcissistic mother. Get some therapy. If the therapist doesn't believe you, find another therapist. Just keep looking until you find someone. With my clients, I actually have texting so that if they are going to go and meet their mum, I walk them through what to say. Because your brain will be, she knows your buttons, she's put them there, and unfortunately, they will be there forever. I can't take them away. What I can do is minimize the damage. So I go with them in their pocket on their phone and they let me know what's going on. They sneak off to the toilet, let me know. We come up with a response and they practice responses. Now, if I can say one thing to try with your parents that you don't need therapy for is small talk. Learn the art of small talk, so that the only thing that you talk to them about, if you're going to a function, might be the weather, your car, something that you don't care if they've got the information. They have no respect for your information. So while you're getting a therapist, just speak to them about purely surface things. They want information that they can take back to their friends so it looks like they're a good mum. Give them information. But give them information you're happy to have shared. So, no, get some therapy. These parents rarely change. I will state that up front too. And we were talking earlier. They have a choice to change and it suits them not to, which is also a very difficult thing to hear. But they are getting their attention and supply, which is all that they care about. So they're not going to change. Let's just go ahead with that assumption. If your mum ever does come to you and say, I'm very sorry, then fantastic. My clients quite often start off expecting that there'll be change, and we go with that for a while. And strength, but it's really important that before you confront them, you get strong and that you find a safe place to fall. You practice putting this information about Fight Club out into the world and learning that it's safe and you're not going to harm your family. You put it out into the world and learn that people believe you. You put it out into the world and you learn what you should have gotten, just even checking with other people about. My best lessons came from my partner who said, whoa, that's not normal. But I was too scared to even check it with my friends. So get help, please. This is not something you need to do by yourself. This is absolutely huge. This is not small. This is not something where you harden up. And you need to do it externally to the family. You find even if you get a sibling who's also going through the same thing and you just keep mulling it over, I find that can be quite damaging because you're re-traumatizing yourself by constantly talking about it. You need someone who's going to give you some tools, some phrases, some ways to shut the parent up when they say something, some boundaries, and how to enforce them. It's simple phrases. And if you do want to go no contact, which sometimes you can do for a small period or a large period, how to word that so that you come out of it with your integrity. So you can say, I managed this situation with integrity. I was not drawn into character assassination of my mother. I was not, but I just, if you want to send a letter, we draft it together. To make sure that you can't be re-traumatized, but get a therapist. Get a therapist who understands this. And chances are you probably might not have a lot of really close friends because your mother will have stopped that early on. They don't like you having friends because you might go to the friend's house and see their mother. And so a lot of people come to me with difficulty having relationships with females. So they don't have a lot of female friends. So just having the relationship with a therapist where you can speak something. Now, I'm going to say something that might be a bit controversial here, but one thing that we do discuss that women find difficult to discuss is if your mother were to pass away, how would you feel having never had a relationship? And that one for women is very much taboo, to say that I might feel relieved. So that's also something that we talk about in therapy is if you never have contact with your mother in the way that you wanted, are you okay with that? And we deal with that too. But, and as I said, we'll talk about it next time. There's also the father who ignored it or enabled it, which is another form of damage. But no. And if you go, I'll say that if you go to your father and mother and ask them, your father will always, always defend your mother. So don't do that either. He's spent a lot, even if they're separated, mine are separated, and, my mum says jump and my dad says how high. He's got a new wife, 25 years, he's still jumping. So, so get therapy. Get some therapy and get supported. Get some support, and I would recommend a female therapist just to start healing the mother wound and to enable you to not see femininity as aggressive controlling, so that you can begin to embrace your feminine without having this horrible feeling that that's what a woman is. And also, if you're mothering, to just get someone to say you're doing a good job, which is what, because I don't know about you, but when I first had my kids, I was like, I know I don't want to be like that, but what do I be like? And I will say this to reassure people too. If you for 1 second have said, I'm really frightened that I'm a narcissistic mum, I will bet that you're not. Because narcissists don't have any sort of introspection. They would never ask themselves that question. So I guess as a parent, the biggest thing that I can say to women who've had a narcissistic mother is, if you are aware and doing something, you will not pass it on. It will not happen, because it is the work to change that the narcissistic mother won't do.
Now, for those of you watching, if you want to learn more about this, Rebecca has so many resources for you. She's got a list of phrases you can use. And one of the coolest things she's got is a quiz that you can take to find out for yourself whether or not your mother has narcissistic qualities. So if you would like to take the quiz to get connected with all of these resources that Rebecca has to offer, we have a link for you. Just go to yourbrilliance.org/mom quiz. That's yourbrilliance.org/mom quiz. Thank you so much, Rebecca, for coming onto the show. And I wondered if you had any last message you would like to leave our viewers with.
This is fixable. You do not have to carry this around. This is not yours. This is hers. And there's help. It makes me tear up when I see these women and they finally get it. So please, even if you just go and read the articles and you can say, that's me, just shoot me a quick thing to let me know what your mum was like, and you'll get me if you do send me a message, and just to feel that there's support. And let's talk about it. Let's finally start talking about this, because it's time. It's time for you to speak.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. And thank you out there for watching. Now, what was your biggest aha moment or insight while watching the interview? If you feel comfortable, share it with us in the comments. And for more interviews like these, make sure to subscribe to Your Brilliance TV here on YouTube, and then come on over to yourbrilliance.com for more tips and insights on how you can live your most brilliant life. See you next time.